Hello, friends, and welcome back. And if you are new, welcome to you too. In 2 episodes ago, we I was talking about regrets that people express as they approach the end of their lives. I might mention them again. Number one was I wish I'd had the courage to live a life true to myself, not the life others expected of me. And that was the one that I dedicated that episode to. Today, I'd like to reflect with you on the second one. Second one is I wish I hadn't worked so hard. I wish I hadn't worked so hard. I don't feel that this one is a black and white kind of regret because I think it depends what kind of work people did. If this is work that takes away all your energy, depletes you, and or prevents you from doing other things which are soulful and close to your heart, then I understand. Then you might look back and say, I wish I hadn't worked that hard. If the motivation for your work beyond what you really needed, because many times we work as a necessity, we don't have a choice. We need to work in order to provide to our families, to our loved ones, to ourselves. But if we have a choice, or if we have sort of choice, or partial choice, and we can work less in order to do something more nourishing or nurturing to ourselves or to other people around us, then we can come, and we did not do it, then it can create regret. This, I think, can be put easily in the pile of working too hard. And I can only give you an example from my life, because the best I can do is talk about myself. That's, after all, the person or the entity which is closest to me. My work is my heart. My work is my passion. My work is something which I see as vocation. I'm enjoying and deliberately devoting much of my life to my work. Now, this kind of devotion does not mean that I'm spending every single moment in my work. It doesn't mean that I'm sacrificing my health for my work. It doesn't mean that I am forgetting other things because of work. So it's not as I said, it's not as a black and white kind of topic. It's quite a complex and definitely invites more inquiry, more reflection, more awareness. And I would like to guess or presume that people who say close to the end of their life, I wish I didn't work that hard, is because they feel they missed quite a lot or a little bit on other things in their life. Maybe they mean their relationships. Maybe they mean their families. Maybe they mean their beloved ones. Maybe there was a hobby or another thing that they wanted to pursue, and they put it off and off and off because they thought that work needs to come first, and they forgot to find kind of balance between the two. Many times we find the end of our life is coming upon us without us being able to prepare. There is instant death, there is tragic death, there is death at a young age. And most of the time, or many times, people cannot prepare or plan their death. Plan is a better word. And I feel that even if we can't plan our death, which most of the time we can't, there is something that we can do. We can inquire and look deep inside much before death is coming upon us at a young age. And I know that in order to be able to do this self-inquiry, we need to accept the fact that we are going to die one day. If we are running away from this thought, if we are putting it away, if we deny it, if we don't want to look at it, if we ignore it, then we can't prepare for death. Ram Dass said that if you are 40 years old and you haven't started preparing your death, you're already late. And the people who knew or learned from Ram Dass, we know that he had an amazing sense of humor. I can relate to this part of needing to prepare yourself, not just going through your estates, but really knowing that you need to evaluate your life in a way that will maybe minimize, I don't want to say prevent, but minimize the regrets of that sort. That you don't get to the end of your life and say, I wish I'd worked less. And again, I want to stress it out. It's very important to make it clear. I mean the people who have choice, because you might not have choice but to work that hard. And then I completely understand the sadness that comes along with knowing that your life is coming to an end and you didn't do so many things that you wanted to do. I bow to you. I bow to your dedication if you're one of these people. So I need to have a short statement here and to say that what I'm saying is addressed to people who have a choice or close to choice or have the privilege to change things. And I know it doesn't apply to everyone. As natural, as nature is actually dictating all of us, the best I can talk about is the thing which are close to my life and to my heart, especially in a podcast of this sort. When I'm talking about my experience, it's just my experience. And it does not mean that the experience of everyone should be the same. If there's anything of the topics or points which I'm touching, which is close to your heart or makes you want to try them, by all means, this is what you do. It'll make me more than happy to know that I've inspired one person in a year to change something within you. But if what I'm saying is completely strange or foreigner and cannot find a place in your life, I completely understand. So it's not an evangelism kind of thing. You should do this and you should do this. It might be a suggestion for people who can take the suggestion. And above all, it's a reflection. So back to this regret of, I wish I didn't work that hard. A good invitation for inquiry, for self-inquiry, is to check if everything that you do for your work is really necessary. Or maybe some of the things you can actually delegate to other people if you work with other people. Or maybe other things you can put off for another time, maybe another life. If you're doing what you need and like doing, then you usually don't feel that you are burning yourself. You're not going to get yourself that quickly or that often to a burnout. Having said that, I'm going to contradict myself now, which I like doing many times because nothing is set in stone. Sometimes you love you love your work so much that you ignore hunger, ignore tiredness, maybe ignore people who you love and need your attention. You're just in this state that many people call flow, that there's no time in this place. And because there's no time, there's no hunger, there's no tiredness. So I can understand this. Many people know it. Many people who like or love the work know it. If it goes on for a long time, you might find yourself exhausted at some point. You might bring yourself to burnout at some point. You might feel, oh, actually, I'm not eating well enough, or I'm not looking after my health. So again, the word balance is so needed in this place because every now and then, even if you are being completely swept away, completely carried away by a work that you love, it's important every now and then to stop, to pause. It's important to pause, especially when you are so engaged in what you do that you can't pay attention to what your body feels. Sometimes you go beyond the feeling of your body. So pause, leave the desk, the piano, the violin, the cello, the book, the writing, the gardening, whatever you do, and take a breath. Maybe three would be better. And check with yourself. Does my body need some food? Does my body needs maybe a few minutes of sitting out in nature? Maybe my body needs a bit of movement. I can put music and dance. I can just move. I can do my Tai Chi, whatever you do, my yoga, a few stretches. This is paying attention to the body. So I'm not talking about this. The regret that people say and express towards the end of their life are the regrets of a duration of time that was spent in work while sacrificing other needs or other pleasures or other things which their heart was craving. As my years go by, as time passes for me as well as for other people, I have two things which I keep coming back to and contemplate. One of them is, if this is the last day of my life, how do I feel? And the other one is, I'm going to leave this day as if it's never going to end, or as if my life is never going to end. Yes, I know. They are the opposites. They do contradict, but maybe not so. And let me touch them a little bit. I'll start with the second one, living my life as if they never end. We know as we get older, or as we got old, whatever you want to call it, and now there's a new or an accompanying thought or feeling that goes parallel with our life. It's almost like parallel to us. There is a thought that says, I'm getting old. How will I get old? What's going to happen? How am I going to age? You got me. You got the idea. Things of this sort. And yes, if you look for one source for them, they come from fear. They come from fear, which is completely natural, completely understandable. Because not worrying at all about what's going to happen at old age is denying something. I have never met a person who aged and didn't have every now and then a thought, not always even it manifested into a worry, but a thought that says, I'm getting old. This is old, especially because of the association that especially Western culture has got with the aging process. So you got lots of these things from your surrounding, from your environment, from your parents maybe when they were old, from your grandparents, from other members of the family, friends, because there is fear especially in Western culture. And the fear creates fear of the fear of death creates fear of getting older. Because we know the nature of young people, they don't think what's going to happen if I'm going to have an accident tomorrow. It doesn't happen usually. Because with youth, there's no fear of end of life. Young people really live their life as if it's not going to end. And I think we can borrow this because and when I say we, I mean older people, but if you're young, you can relate to this maybe even more naturally. But we older people, we were young too. And we remember this completely youthful thinking that death is for all people. I'm never going to die. So we can borrow this kind of feeling to say, I might not die. I might never die. Not in order to put off things that you want to do. No, no, no. Let me say it again. Not in order to put off things that you want to do, but in order to vacate the fear of getting old. I always say to people around me, I really recommend old age. I couldn't say it before I got older. I can say it now. I really recommend it. I wish my mother would say to me when she got older. I learned many things from my mother as she got older because she always kept her young spirit, young body. She had lots of youth and life force in her, but she didn't want to talk about death, like many people in her generation. They believed that if they talk about death, they invite death to come earlier. So whenever I raised the question or the topic of death, my mother always pushed it away. The same as my grandmother, her mother. So I always looked for a mentor, an older mentor that will speak to me about death without having it ruled by fear. And I'm really blessed that I can offer it to younger people today because I have started working, contemplating, reflecting, inviting the thought of death from the age of 50. So, and I've been doing it for 25 years. It comes with gratitude. It comes with appreciating beauty. being grateful. So this is the source for me saying to people, old age, I really recommend old age. And I wish someone would have told me this when I was younger. So the number one thing which I was mentioning was to live our life as if it's never going to end, because it takes away the fear of old age. I don't want to say yet the fear of death, because I'm sure even people who are very prepared, sort of prepared, as much as they can to death, there is an element of fear, or we never know until we get there. We never know until we get there. But it's good to know that we are preparing ourselves. So, to live our life as if it's never going to end. And making sure that we live it with awareness. We do what we like if we have the chance. We remember to tell people that we love them if we have the chance. We overcome many things which restrict us because life is so beautiful. Even the hardships. So this is one thing I choose to live my life by. And the other one is, if this is the last day of my life, how do I feel? And I'm checking it not every day, but at least 3 or 4 times a week. Sometimes in the middle of the day, sometimes before falling asleep. And this thought of, if this is my last day, it's an indication and a magnifying glass for checking, is there anything which I want to do tomorrow, the day after tomorrow, maybe next year? Is there anything which I want to do tomorrow that will take away the regret? I confess, in my checking, in my self-inquiry, I'm almost always answering myself, if this is the last day of my life, thank you. Thank you for, and then a pouring of gratitude for all the things which I'm grateful for in my life is coming. And sometimes I just fall asleep while I do this list in my head, because the list is getting longer, stronger. So going back to the second statement, we hear people saying as they approach the end of life, I wish I didn't work so much, or I wish I didn't work that hard. There's always time. Today, in the next moment, as soon as you finish listening to this, always time to inquire with yourself, or with a friend, or with a person that you trust, or with your therapist, and ask this question. If this is the last day of my life, how do I feel? Or if I live my life as if it's never going to end, how would I live it? And above all, am I going to say, when I'm getting to the end of my life, am I going to say, I wish I didn't work that hard? Keep well. Look after yourself. Attend to your heart, to your soul. And remember to breathe. Lots of love to you.